All right, well, welcome. We are at the Lantern Tavern in Perry, one of my favorite spots to grab lunch, dinner. Just absolutely love this little tavern.
Well, your burger was perfect.
It was. It's actually called the Perfect Burger. Candied bacon. I mean, it's glorious. It's glorious. If you get a chance, check it out. Lantern Tavern in Perry District. Um, but enough about our food. We're here to talk about the June real estate market. And so, as always, we're trying to month over month navigate and inform you what's happening in the real estate market as if we actually know.
Yeah, as if we can foretell the future.
It changes week over week or day by day sometimes. But in all seriousness, for the month of May, we actually, and I know we're not talking about May, but just kind of set the stage of like what pricing's done for us this year. Our median sale price in the month of May was 435. For the month of June, it's down to 427. So roughly a percent and a half decline in the price of homes. Year over year, we're up about 1%. So very little movement year over year in the price of homes. Um, if you watch this in January, we're sitting down in the threes, and our last newsletter headline was like housing prices have skyrocketed. And so when you look at it month over month, like we do, you see some of the seasonality and some of the little roller coasters of what prices do month over month. But
Well,
overall,
and I think so. Some of that is when you're looking at averages and medians and things. That also has to do with the fact that there's a lot of activity and quote unquote first time home buyer, first time home buyer homes and first time home buyer loans. As a reminder, you don't need a down payment to buy a house. So I think some of that is also pulling down the median price. Because I mean, from my standpoint, it doesn't seem like there's been much decline in the first time home buyer price purchase point.
no, and there hasn't, and that tends to be like one of the stronger, price ranges of that, 300 to 450 or so. Which I mean, it's kind of hard to think about it. When I bought my first home back in I think 2005 or six, it was $82,000 on Monroe. Like, I mean, it wasn't too bad. And you fast forward, 20 years to today, and like that house is, probably a $300,000 house.
Oh yeah, my first house I paid 93,500 for it in 1998, and the last time it sold for 450.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and it goes back like you're probably tired of hearing us say this, if anyone's even watching these. But I mean, like owning real estate over the long term, like there's not a period in time where if you look at a decade that you're losing money on real estate
No.
unless you're irresponsible with the asset, like, and
Well, yeah, I
that's out
mean,
of my control. But
yeah, but if you, especially in a primary residence, if you're taking care of it, you're maintaining it over the long haul, it's going to increase in value.
yeah, yeah.
And for most people, become their largest asset.
Yep. Yep. So price is staying pretty stable. Activity's been pretty decent. Our closed sales are up 2% year over year. Our new pendings year over year are up 16%, down month over month. But if you look at our environment last year versus this year, like I mean, there's strong activity. None of my sellers will feel that right now because we're wondering when, and trying to get people through the properties right now. Um, and I think part of that is like the active inventory that we have on the market. If you look over year, that's up 13%. And I didn't write down the exact number, but I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,700 homes are currently active on the market without an offer.
Yeah, I mean, and especially coming out of the years we've come out, that's very different. But
Hmm.
that's really not that uncommon if you go back far enough
Hmm.
to where that's actually a pretty stable market. And from from a mortgage rate standpoint, the one good thing we have going for us is I can honestly say rates are lower at the end of June than they were when we started in June, and the trajectory is getting better. I mean, if you pay attention to oil, I talk about that on every one of these. Oil prices are down. The price of gas is going to trail that. But as gas prices come down, inflation will come down and mortgage rates should tend to inch better and better.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of throw in, uh, I mean, I don't want to say I have a crystal ball, but we've talked about Warsh, which is the new Fed chair, and just a disclaimer, like federal funds rate does not equal a change in mortgage rates. But we've talked a lot about he's probably not going to drop the federal funds rate. And as of right now, if you look at Kalshi and I think it was a
Yeah.
Polymetrics or something like that, there's like a 70% chance of a 25 basis point rate hike, which, sorry to everyone out there, but if we're looking at inflation, it's needed.
Well, and yeah, it would help bring inflation down. And the reality is Fed Chair Warsh has made no indication that rates are going to get cut, and actually, he's indicated that rates will probably go up. The one thing that where he's going to be very different than Powell is he's not going to have long press conferences, and he's not going to, you know, tell you where he's going.
Mhm.
He's going to keep those meetings tight, but he's going to give you indications, and the indication is they're not going down.
Yeah, and I mean, there's an economic conference I think going on over in is it Puerto Rico or something like that. I was watching this morning, and on stage, I mean, he put it very bluntly, like we're not going to forecast anymore. It creates too much volatility in the market of trying to anticipate what the Fed's going to do and reading into like their wording and all that stuff, and it's probably more detrimental to the psychology of the market than it is helpful.
Yeah, no, I would probably agree with that.
So yeah, I mean, I think our primary, for mortgage rates, like those have stayed pretty stable. The average like mortgage payment in our market right now is, I think it was right around $2,500, which is up from 2,200 this time last year. So you know, rates kind of staying stable, prices stable. Like it's just kind of I think the market's just trying to figure out which direction to go.
No, I would agree, and I think that also the thing that when I look at average mortgage payment, it also takes into account taxes and insurance, and unfortunately, property taxes and homeowners insurance are not stable. I think they
Well,
are
and this is
going up.
just P&I.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Yeah,
X property taxes and insurance. But you're right. I mean, I have had a couple of clients that called up and said, "Hey, like my property taxes just went up $100 a month. Like, where's the cheapest zip code to purchase in?" They're not concerned with school district and all that stuff, but it's starting to get a little more painful, I think, with the cost of things and mortgage being one of those highest
well,
expenses on a monthly
for
basis.
sure.
So yeah. So I mean, I think if you're a seller, price, condition, can't change the location of the house. If we don't, if we can't invest or are unwilling to invest in the condition of the house, then the only other thing's price. I'm never going to be able to outmarket price. Buyers are not going to trip over themselves for an overpriced home. They have access to same amount of information and probably more of it, on a day-to-day basis if they're actively looking, and they're going to know what stuff's overpriced.
Yeah,
It's not
no,
going
I
to
would
show on
agree
the
with that.
radar.
Yeah,
So,
and I would think from a buyer standpoint, my advice would be don't self-select yourself out of looking for a home. Reach out to us. Let us see if we can get you pre-qualified. Let's see what figure out what a payment might be that makes you comfortable. Because I do think there are opportunities for people to buy houses now at affordable payments if they're willing to take a look at it and do the little bit of work with us to get themselves prepared.
well, and let's not forget, like, price negotiation is only one aspect of affordability. So, if you get a 10% decline or a 10% negotiation and reducing the price, that's equal to a 1% decline in interest rates. So if it's a $400,000 house that you can negotiate or we can negotiate to 360, the payment would be the equivalent of a 5.5% interest rate payment. So that's price. The other thing is for concessions directly from the seller. There's FHA. You can get up to 6% of the purchase price, which on a $400,000 house is 24 grand. That you can use towards your closing costs. You can use it towards temporary rate buy downs or permanent rate buy downs. So, like to your point, it's worth exploring and having a game plan of here's how we can make it more affordable potentially.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
mean, I think using seller concessions as a either temporary or permanent buy down is a great idea. And I think if you look at it from a buyer standpoint, if there are 3,700 homes on the market, there are opportunities for you to work with people that do want to sell their house.
Yeah, and if I'm a buyer and I'm working with an agent in this market, like I'm looking for stuff first and foremost that fits my needs, and I'm also figuring out like what's a want versus a need, and looking at homes that, if our average days on market's about 39 days, I'm looking for stuff that's been sitting a little bit longer. The motivation might be higher. So, you know, to your point, like the interest rate is what it is. There's ways that we can control it through negotiation, rate buy downs, things along those lines. So I'd say give it a go.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And if you do need money, then
Reach out to us. We can reach at 509-747-1300.
yeah. And if you do need to find a house, we can be found at 509-990 sold or SpokaneHomeGuy.com. See you next time.